Hi everyone, my name is Chris Hibbs. I'm the Health and Wellness Director at the Wheeler YMCA. And what I'm going to start doing for you guys is every week I'm going to be doing a video showing you some of my favorite tips and tricks and just techniques and just different things to help you really make you successful cooking at home, because we're stuck at home right now. So everyone's cooking a lot more. It's really important, and I don't want it to be difficult for you. So some of the things we're going to be talking about is just going to make things, one, taste better, and two, make it so much easier for you and enjoyable to cook at home. So up first is what I think is probably the most important tool that you could have in your kitchen. Well, other than pots and pans, because you have to cook on those. But the number one tool is a good solid kitchen knife. And so this is just it's an all-purpose tool. I use this out of any other thing in here. I use this the most. You're cutting everything, vegetables, meat, anything you think of, bread, all that stuff. So, and if you have a good knife, it makes that so much easier. You don't want to be struggling cutting fruits and veggies and everything. And so if you have a good sharp knife and you know some of the techniques, it just makes it so much easier to do. So first this is my chef's knife. Okay, so this is probably the all-purpose knife. This is the most common. You could do the most things with it, and I think this is about 10 inches. And so this is my best friend in the kitchen. So I use this all the time. A couple other knives that I have this smaller 5-inch knife that's a little bit different. If you notice, this one's more curved, so you could rock on it. This one is flat, so you're more cutting down on with that knife. You have a bread knife. I'm sure you guys probably all have at least a bread knife. So bread knife is this long one, has serrated edges. Using this obviously for bread. Also, if something that has tough skin, that's a little soft, a tomato, things like that, you'll be able to glide right through without smushing it, unless you have a really nice sharp knife, which we'll go over. And last, another one that it's good to have is just a small paring knife. Using this to take cores out, maybe the top of the strawberries, core the strawberries and stuff, things like that. So there's a couple that I have, but the one that I'm really going to be talking about today is the chef's knife. And so the most important thing about your knife is making sure that it's sharp. If it's not sharp, it doesn't work. It makes it a lot more difficult for you to use. And then the worst part is you cut yourself. And I know this because I've done this many times. I've say all my fingertips multiple times I've cut before. It's been a while because I learned my lesson. But just an example, if you're cutting, let's say you're cutting a potato, and your knife is your knife is dull, and it kind of slips off and slides off instead of going through the skin smoothly, slides off. That's what happened to me, and it ricochets a little bit, and then you go right into your fingertips in 2 seconds, and then you're done for a couple weeks with some. It's not fun, believe me. There's no good Band-Aid. Even though they say they're for fingers, there's no good Band-Aid that really works for fingers. It's a pain. So to save you some of that hassle, you got to have a sharp knife. That's the number one thing, and that'll help you. Obviously, you have to be careful because it's sharp. It's really sharp, but it'll make sure that your knife will go through the food smoothly. You have a lot less chance of cutting yourself. A couple ways to sharpen this. The real basic one that everyone thinks is a sharpener is this what they call a honing rod. This is not sharpen your knife. This will help keep your knife sharper for a longer amount of time. It'll realign the blades on your knife. You kind of run it down, glide it along. You see some of the chefs go crazy like this. I don't know how to do it that fast. I do it a little slower, but this just really realigns your knife and gets it ready to go. But it doesn't sharpen. Another example of a sharpener is, this seems really simple, but inside this has some sharp, some sort of metal in there. But with this one, it's handheld, and you kind of push down on the blade, and you kind of drag along. You can feel it you can feel it dragging, and you'll see if you have a little towel or something, you'll see some shavings right on the side, so you know you're doing something. But this one worked pretty well for me. And now I keep it outside. I use it for my axe for all my wood cutting. Yeah, right. But anyways, I do have it. But the one, after a while, I just got really sick of cutting my fingers all the time. So I went out, I splurged, and I bought myself one of the real big sharpeners. And this one does a really good job. I actually think it says on the box or whatever, and it's true. It's actually sharper after using this than when you first buy it. It works really well. So here's a test for you. This is how to make sure that your knife is sharp. Okay, so this one I did not sharpen today. This one I sharpened today. So first, you're going to take a newspaper. You're going to make sure you have it folded on the crease. Okay, you're going to lay your knife flat right on there, and you should be able to lightly, if it's sharp, you should be able to lightly guide it along and take little shavings right off the top. So this was not sharp, so let's see what happens. Yep. So basically it didn't glide through, it grabs it, and then you just rip it in half. So you guys can easily try this tonight at home to see how your knives do. What a sharp knife looks like is you're going to do the same thing, and you're going to lightly, you should be able to shave, you should be able to shave. I know it's not doing that well, I'm sorry, but you should be able to get shavings. See that? That's perfect. Okay, and if your knife is not sharp, it is not going to do that. So that's very, very simple. So give that a shot tonight. Check your knives. If they're not ready, if they're not sharp, go get them sharpened. Or if you have one of your own, make sure you do it again. Another thing you can do if you don't have any of this and you want to have it done professionally, bring it to, maybe not right now, everything's closed, but bring it to like a kitchen shop, kitchen store, whether it's maybe, I think like Sur La Table has those, or other kitchen stores. They sharpen knives, so I think they charge by inch. It's probably like $5 or a couple bucks per inch. Get it sharpened. Highly recommend it. It'll be well worth it. Another thing that's really important when it comes to using your knives is having good cutting boards. And so I have a couple examples here. We have wood cutting boards or plastic cutting boards, and I have both because they have different purposes for me. First, one thing you really want to do is kind of designate cutting boards for different type of items you're going to cut on there. So these two right here, these are my older ones. These are the ones I use the most. But this big guy is, I probably use this most out of it, all of them. But this is where I do all my vegetables, everything, garlic, mainly, mainly vegetables and everything on there. And the reason why I keep especially garlic on this cutting board is because one day I was cutting cantaloupe for my kids, sliced it up, and they wouldn't eat it because the cantaloupe tasted like garlic. So it will make the food you're cutting on it smell like garlic if you. So that's why I keep this separately. And then I use I have other ones that I designate. These are specific. I even have a smaller one. These are specific to just fruits, and I don't cut anything else on them, so it keeps them fresh. Then another thing is this is kind of like my raw meat cutting board. So again, really smart to designate one cutting board for all your raw meat. That way you're not cross-contaminating, you're being safe. And then the great thing is you could, if you're cooking something, obviously you're gonna cut your raw meat first. You take this one, throw it in the sink, and then you're good to go. And then you have your other cutting board ready to go. So you're not sitting there washing in the middle when you're trying to cook. Just makes things a little smoother. And then the last one is we have wood cutting boards. I have both. I have a couple. I tend to kind of use wood cutting boards for things that are cooked already, or maybe meats or things like that. And then again, just designate specific cutting boards for different types of things. Here's another trick I'd like to. You might have already seen this before, but there's a trick to make sure that your cutting board is not slipping around everywhere. I know obviously this one has these rubber things on here that it works, but with some of the regular style cutting boards or wood, they do tend to slip on your counters. So just take a nice damp cloth, paper towel. You're going to put it right down underneath, and your cutting board doesn't go anywhere. Okay, so now it's nice and safe because again, now you have a nice sharp knife. You're going to be cutting foods. You don't want this thing moving around with this sharp knife. All right, I hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Try that trick at home. Just test your knives, see how sharp they are, and I'll be back and I'll see you soon. Thanks.